we'll get everybody back out on the field today. Get ready for a big homecoming game. Bowling Green, obviously a tough team, 5-1 right now. Won pretty convincingly over some good football teams, and I think they know how to play in SEC stadiums. Played Florida pretty close last year, so I think their guys are used to doing that. Be a difficult task. Very senior unit. You look at them on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody's a redshirt juniors. Their youngest players are redshirt juniors. I mean, they've been in the program 4 years. All seniors and redshirt juniors. So a very, very experienced veteran group on the defensive side of the ball. Give you a lot of different looks, a lot of different pressures come at you in a lot of different directions. Very opportunistic defense, creating turnovers, and really good football team on that side of the ball. Offensively, a lot of balance. They got a quarterback that can make a lot of plays with his arm, can throw it all over the place and keep plays alive. Talented running back. Different type of receivers than we've seen last year. A lot of big receivers, real tall guys to create mismatch advantages, and and a pretty good offensive line. So close to, I think, 500 yards a game on offense. So they're an explosive offense, and when you match that with the experience of defense, you can see why they're 5-1 and probably the top team in the MAC conference this year. So it'll be a great challenge for us.
You had some big plays from a couple of true freshmen, De'Runyon Wilson, Chris Jones. Just talk about those two guys stepping up in a big game. You haven't really had true freshmen in a game like that really kind of take over on a couple of plays.
This year, no, we haven't. So it was good to see those guys. They're starting to grow. De'Runyon is starting to get better, but doing a nice job learning the game, learning how to play the game. And Chris, obviously, is a guy that's got a lot of athletic potential, very talented athlete, but still you can see he's really learning fundamentals and learning how to be a good every down football player.
I think about a month ago we were in Houston. You said the finish. You brought up finish a lot, and then last week you brought up finish too. What has changed since that time? Or are we looking at the same team that needs finishing problems, or what's improved?
Everything changes from every single week. Awful lot's improved since then. I bet. When you go back to the start of the season, look, the missed assignments. We had more missed assignments. The only other game was the Egg Bowl last year, where we'd had that close to that many missed assignments on offense from the first game of the season, where I think we were down like 18 total in the game in all three phases this weekend. So the fundamentally sound guy, we played much better. You look at this week's game. The difference is missed tackles. I think we each had the same number of missed tackles. They had twice the amount of yards on missed tackles afterwards. They had more negative yardage plays than we had, but they had more explosive plays than we had too. So little things like that I think come out. There are a lot of big plays made in that game, both negative yardage and positive yardage games on Saturday. So, but there's so many different things, hard to go into. I mean, you can go into every single player, every single detail that's totally different now than it was at the beginning of the season.
Coach, you talked yesterday about how physical it was, and you got the normal bumps and bruises. How was guys you may be out this week or something?
We expect everybody to play this week, but we'll see. As the week goes on, there'll be a lot of guys limited in practice all during the week. But nobody's been ruled out for the game on Saturday. Nobody new has been ruled out for the game on Saturday yet.
Dan, as somebody with experience in this, can you talk about what it takes to build a program at Bowling Green? I mean, there's a pretty big university in Ohio that I'm sure kids grow up wanting to go to, and you've got to kind of sell yourself, and that program historically has done so over the past, decade.
Yeah, they've done a great job when you're there. I mean, obviously you got to know who you're competing against, which is there's a lot of it's interesting, a lot of that conference are schools in Ohio, with Akron, Kent, Toledo, Miami, the University of Ohio. The Bobcats. Got a proud alum in my house. So I think, at Bowling Green, you're there, you're competing against those schools, not against the big school in the state. But, I think when you look at it, you look what they've done there. They've been able to win pretty consistently, build a solid foundation. It's a great school. Kids have a great time going there. They've built some really good facilities, all new facilities since when I was there, and so they have a lot to sell as a university, and it's pretty accessible to a lot of places, as far as travel and distance wise. So, but they've done a good job. They've been pretty consistent doing a good job there, and and it just shows with the type of team. No, I mean I think everybody tries to use that. We use that here. We have a chip on our shoulder here, and for a lot of our guys, and within our conference. So, I'm sure they use all that stuff, and for their guys, I think when I was there, we went undefeated against BCS schools while I was there at Bowling Green, and so I think their kids really look forward to playing in these games. There's the chip on the shoulder is the opportunity to play an SEC school. We get to do it 8 times a year. They get to do it once, and so it's a pretty big opportunity for those guys.
Coach, obviously getting Perkins back in the offense and getting him back close to health is a good boost in the arm for you guys. But talk about with Ashton Shumpert, and obviously he's on a lot of special teams too. And talk about his progression so far.
He's done a real good job, for us. I think you look, he's our in the running back position. He's our 3rd leading rusher. I think he has most carries of all our running backs so far on the year. I was looking statistically. Maybe I'm off on that. Let me check that. But I know he was up there pretty high with that, and. No, second most. Perk's got 39 carries. He's got 29 carries for us. So, as a true freshman coming in, has done a really good job. And you just see, when we talk about development of players, it is that. You learn to. He's obviously been accelerated playing as a freshman. But getting on the field, he's getting the ball in his hands, learning how to be a back, learning how to do pass protections, how to block, carry out fakes, not just run the football, but also learning. I think part of that translates when you get into special teams, learning the importance of your assignment, fundamentals, and technique to become successful, and he's done a really good job of doing those things for us.
You mentioned last week that you really weren't worried about Tyler getting back in there. He's been here long enough. Just kind of comment on that opening drive. He took a sack on the first play, and just the poise that he had just to come back and throw that touchdown pass in there to James.
Yeah, touchdown pass was a great play. He changed the play at the line of scrimmage, changed protection, changed the route. Just saw it, a certain pressure coming, wanted to change the play and get to something different, and that just kind of shows his experience. I guess unfortunately he's been sacked a bunch during his career. I guess if you stick around long enough, you've been playing here this is his 4th year. So, getting sacked isn't going to affect him or, it's anything. I think when you've played as much as he has, you take positives, negatives in stride. He's been sacked, he's thrown interceptions. He's now the school's all-time leading touchdown passer. So, all those things come in stride of him, of which you always want, which is take what's happened on that play and translate it into what you can do on the next play or in future plays in the game, and he's done a good job of doing that for us.
Were you happy, or did you kind of get into it a little bit when he kept the option?
An option play?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great run. That was the right read. He took the ball, lower his pads, and go get the yards. That's what he's supposed to do. No. He's a tough kid. I'll be honest with you. Quarterbacks take more hits in the pocket than they do running the ball. If they're running the ball, you usually are a weapon. A lot of times guys get hurt. I imagine just as many guys are getting hurt sliding or trying to get down or in the pocket as they do when they're running the ball. He's running the ball. He has a defender coming right at him. He can kind of be the aggressor and the hammer, not the nail.
Dan, when you look back to your time at Bowling Green, your first collegiate college coaching job, where would you be in your life, especially meeting your wife there? Where would you be without your opportunity at Bowling Green?
Boy, who knows? That was my first full-time job. I've been a restricted earnings and grad assistant at different schools before then, but it was my first full-time coaching position. I learned an awful lot there. I think I've learned an awful lot here as the head coach, but everywhere you go, you can learn a lot. Met my wife there, changed a lot about who you are, grew up a lot while I was there, and I think just personally and football-wise, you grew up a lot while I was there. So it was a good time, good experience for me, and obviously, like anything, you look in life. What was that, about 12 years ago now? I think I was there 12 years ago. You always say, "Oh, where will I be 10 years from now?" Well, within 10 years of leaving Bowling Green, I was the head coach here. So I will be honest with you. I didn't say I'm going to be the head coach. We said, "Where will you be 10 years from now?" Being the head coach at Mississippi State was not the first thing that jumped out. I would love to have been a head coach, but we did some good things. We had some really good players, and had a lot of success, and it helped us. I think a lot of different people get to where they are today.
You talked yesterday on the teleconference about you saw, especially in the fourth quarter, some guys trying to do other guys' jobs. Were you talking about some particular positions or just kind of a tendency?
I don't know, trying to do other guys' jobs. I think trying too hard to make plays at times is what it was, and I think when that happens, a lot of times on the defensive side of the ball, you get out of fits. I'm going to go try to make a big play right here, and when my job was to be in the A-gap, I'm not in the A-gap. I'm going to, because I was trying to make a big play. That stuff happens with experience, hey, I'm just trying to get open, and even though I'm not running my route the right way, or, I'm trying to force a ball in where I don't need to force it into, and I think that stuff happens sometimes, especially with some younger players, that are looking and saying, hey, but it's the fourth quarter, I need to go make a play. And you got to understand that, you have to make a play within your job and making sure you're doing your job, and then make a play on top of that is important.
Is that something you stress to? You just want to knock away guys' aggressiveness or whether it's and yet keep them under control?
No, it's them learning how to do that, which is very, very important. Everybody has a specific role to do, and if you don't do your job the right way, then it can affect a lot of other people. And I love guys wanting to make plays. I think that's something we look forward with a young group. You need guys to step up to want to do that. They just got to learn how to make plays in the system and within doing your job.
You've faced one of your former teams a couple of times since you've been head coach at Mississippi State. How different will it be this time, as opposed to facing Florida?
Well, I knew most of the guys on the team at Florida and recruited a lot of them and then coached a lot of them. So, I don't know any of the players at Bowling Green right now. So, but I know a lot of the alums and former players there. It'll be fun. It's a neat deal. It is since. While coaching there, I met my wife, and it was your first full-time coaching job. Got to coach guys like Josh Harris, who is just awesome, and our quarterbacks there, Josh Harris, Andy Somm, Omar Jacobs, really good guys, and I still actually talk to Josh a bunch. Haven't talked to Omar in a while. Saw him a couple years ago. We were in Florida, but it's kind of a neat deal going back. I always got to keep an eye around the office. John Clark, our assistant AD, is a proud alum, so he asked if he was going to get the week off this week, and I said, no, we're just going to keep very close eyes on what you do and what meetings you're allowed in. So,
Dan, when you look at the numbers each week and you're giving out grades and going over the film, I'm curious how much you look at red zone, what you're doing in between the 20s, because statistically it looks like a lot of the quote-unquote most prolific offenses are the ones that are, obviously getting touchdowns more in that sequence.
Well, it is huge. Red zone offense on both sides of the ball is critical. It's a huge part of winning the football game. And it's red zone. The stat to me, obviously kicking is always a concern, but to me it's point potential. You look, we were minus 11 point potential on Saturday in the game where we had 2 field goals and a missed field goal, and we held them to a field goal one time. So they lost 4 points in the red zone that they potentially could have gotten, and we lost more than that. And, I think that is always huge. You want to, you got to hold people to field goals or field goal attempts where you have to score touchdowns. Red zone scoring, to me, is proportionate to touchdowns in the red zone, not as much field goals. You get down there, you have to get touchdowns. So that's how I look. I see a lot of red zone. Well, you've scored this % of time in the red zone. That's irrelevant to me. It's how much of your potential points have you scored? And you look at potential being 7 every time. Mm-hmm. No, you're a plus as many as you can possibly get. Every time they get down there, you hold them to 0 or 3, and you get 7 every time you get down there. So defensively, so what was it offensively for plus 11? And we went for 2 the one time, which would have been a bonus. If we had a guy wide open, we'd miss the throw. So that's another one, and 4. So we were like minus 16 on offense and only plus 4 on defense. I guess we're at 12 because I forgot about the 2-point conversion. So, you look at us, we left 16 potential points on the board in the red zone, and we only held them to 4 fewer points than what would be expected in the red zone.
In their one loss this season, Bowling Green got down early and kind of throughout their offense. They threw more than they wanted to, ran less than they wanted to. Obviously, it's important to get ahead in all games, but how important is it to get ahead so to maybe take them out of their offense, what they like to do?
Well, that'd be great. Especially the further you get ahead, the better. The faster I can get ahead by a lot, the happier I usually am. It worked well for us in the Troy game and the Alcorn game this year, and no, I think obviously coming in here, anytime you want to play at home, you want to have momentum at home, and you want to do that. You want to keep the crowd, home field advantage is so important, having the crowd alive, have the crowd involved, giving you that home field advantage, making it difficult on the other team. I think that is always huge. So, it's critical, our fan base. They're loud, on their feet, making noise for 4 quarters for us. That's as important part of the game as anything else.
If you could tell Dan Mullen 12 years ago something, what would you have told him? What would you tell him about life and coaching in general?
Boy, I don't know. I like my life right now, so I don't know if I'd want to mess him up too much. I'm pretty happy with how, very fortunate. I got a great wife. I have 2 great kids. I have a job that I love. I'm around great people, and we coach great kids here. So I'd be scared to kind of, you look at the movies. If I go back in time and if I alter something, the shock waves into the future could change everything right there, like, Michael J. Fox. So Back to the Future. So I wouldn't want to mess with that too much because I really like my life right now.
Dan, I think when Jeff became the primary defensive coordinator this year, a lot of people talked about the mayhem and the aggressiveness attitude that he was going to bring, and they thought, well, he's kind of risking the back end, and we might give up some more big plays. You're still in the top half and giving up, big plays from scrimmage. Talk about that balance where you want to be aggressive, but it seems like you're also concerned about not getting beat deep either.
I think everything. I think when people look at it, you can't confuse aggression with just blitzing and being unsound. When we look at mayhem, there are a lot of points, a lot of different things involved in it, and you don't have to blitz or any of that stuff to have mayhem. Being aggressive is a style. I think, forcing negative yardage plays, having tip balls, potential to create turnovers, putting teams in long-distance situations. Those are all things that we want to do within an aggressive style. And, you can aggressively disguise on defense and still drop 8. That's still very aggressive to me, in that way is how you're doing things. So I think a lot of people, when you hear aggressive, we're going to be an aggressive defense, doesn't mean you're going to blitz. Aggressive to me means I want 11 guys flying to the football every time and causing confusion to the offense. And that stuff, playing with unbelievable effort, that to me is the stuff that we look for more than, hey, we're going to run, like a Jolie Dunn defense where, hey, we got guys coming from every different direction. We're playing 2 D linemen and rushing 6 linebackers from one side and dropping everybody the other side. That wasn't great stuff. It was really neat stuff to watch and real pain in the butt when you're on offense. But we're just not that style, right? That's not the definition of aggressive to me. Aggressive is how the demeanor in which your guys play with.
Any more questions?
Good deal. Thank you.